How was the episode recording?
It was good. It was normal card review episode.
Cool.
I'm excited about a bad card. Michael dashes my dreams.
Michael doesn't think our card is good?
No.
Different card.
We haven't talked about our preview card yet. I think Michael's on board with the preview card. That looks like.
Well, I can bring it up on my
fucking Spirit Rogue, guys. Already, we're winning.
I will say there was a conversation we had on the episode where the entire time I was like, I can't mention our preview card, which is just a better version of this card. Halfway through me talking about this card, but here we are.
Really?
Well, there's a white Adondo Vanguard that lets you just discard a card for free.
Yeah, he was like trying to extol the virtues of free discard outlets, and I was like, this ain't it. But ours is it.
Ours is it. And welcome back to the Masters of Modern. I am your host, Alex Kessler, here with all of the hosts. I've collected them all. I've completed my playset with Marshall James, Michael Grothy, and Mr. Ben Bateman. We're really excited. Today's our preview card episode day. We've got a free preview card from Wizards for Magic 21, the core set that comes out this July, I think is when it comes out, hopefully. We're here to tell you what it is. And before we reveal exactly what it is, it's going to show up right here as I read it out loud. I'm pretty excited about this card. This card is definitely one of the more exciting ones we've gotten probably since Night of Autumn. And
this card, like, it's generally cool more than I don't know how good it is. I mean, I want to talk about it, but it's really cool. It's like a very fun card.
What's interesting, it's like right up, I think, all of our collective alley. There's like a different word on it that I think all of us like in different ways. So I think that's pretty sweet. So it's a blue card. It costs, it's a 2/1. It's a 2/1, has 2 power, 1 toughness. Creature type Spirit Rogue, so relevant creature type Rogue, and then a Spirit, which I guess might see play one day if there's enough Spirits that see printing. And then it is a rare. It is named Ghostly Pilferer, and it costs 1 blue. I'm wondering if Marshall's going to be able, and he's here, so he can tell me he won't be able to do this. Put all of the it's 1 and a blue. So it's a 2 mana 2/1 Spirit Rogue Ghostly Pilferer rare. It has 3 different abilities. The first one, when Ghostly Pilferer becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Its second ability, whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. A little bit of a hate card ability right there. And then the last ability is discard a card, Ghostly Pilferer can't be blocked this turn. So it's got a lot of text. It's just like all text all the time. It went to the same university that Questing Beast went to, actually. They both went from the Lot of Words University. It's in Wisconsin. And it's got so many things that I like. It's got a free discard outlet. Last week we talked about all the things I love about free discard outlet. It has a card draw advantage engine on it. And it's a hate card.
This is the card I would want to play with Circular Logic for what it's worth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Dope. Well, I mean, I think the most interesting thing about this card is that it's kind of a blue hate bear, which we don't really see that often, right? Mm-hmm. Like you get some like Merfolk ones sort of, and I guess you get some like color mixture ones, but you don't really just get any like straight up good blue card that is I guess the Spirit is sort of a...
More often than not, the blue hate cards are like sacrifice hate, right? It's sacrifice to counter a spell unless they pay 1 mana, or sacrifice to make it so a creature that would have entered the battlefield from not a hand doesn't enter play, right? That card was printed last year. And then...
This card reads, the second ability on this card read like a white card. And the fact that it's a 2/1 for 2.
Yeah, if someone casts an opponent from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card, including... the new card that people are trying to break. So maybe this is just an answer to the draw 3 cards if you cast a spell from anywhere.
But they draw 3, I draw 1.
But I get a 2/1.
See the truth.
It also is basically what's the artifact key that this is?
Key to the City.
Key to the City.
It has like all of the text of Key to the City. So Key to the City is an artifact that you tap it, give a creature unblockable, and discard a card, and then when it untaps, you can pay 2 mana to draw a card, and this literally has all of that text just stapled to a creature.
So one thing that's better about this than Key to the City, though, is Key to the City, like, the only way to tap it without using, like, I don't know, Clock of Omens or something, is that, like, you have to activate the ability and discard a card. But this can just attack and then untap and draw a card. I mean, you have to be willing to spend 2 mana, but like later in the game, if you can just get through with your 2/1 without even discarding, you can just draw a card.
Right.
And Key to the
I mean,
City could never do that unless you had some weird other card that was tapping it for some reason.
Well, you can almost always
The
guarantee
whole-
the draw card, right? Because you can say you have a land in your hand late game, you can attack and discard that land, make it unblockable, and then the next turn pay the 2 mana. Or if you've been able to
I mean,
remove the
that's what
threats
you
they
do with
have.
Key to the City is Key to the City can filter cards, but this card has an ability. It has the Key to the City text, like you said, but you can also just draw cards with it. You don't need to filter if it connects.
The best case scenario is
I
you
think
just have removal. Yep.
I think like black will often get riffs on Dark Confidant that read a little bit like this card. Like you get when it untaps, inspired, I think is the whatever that one was, and you get Glintleaf Siphoner or whatever, where you can pay energy. Like kind of slow based, like when they untap or a turn later, you get to draw a card out of it. This card, I mean, it's not as good as Dark Confidant, obviously, but it feels a lot like those black cards that are supposed to feel a bit like the Bob riff-offs, but it also has all this other cool text also.
But I don't think this is a strict downgrade to Bob, right? Like this does things that Bob doesn't do. It's can be more aggressive than Bob can be. It has in the late game less liability attached to it. It also like is a hate card, right? Like if your opponent's trying to do something, this is like nope. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's the aspect to it as a hate bear that's like, often in those hate bears decks, you'll play a cheaper drop, you'll kind of negotiate the board state, removal, get a few things through, and then they get down to like 6 life or whatever, and you're like trying to punch through with your little attackers, but they've kind of stabilized, they've figured it out. The fact that this card has the ability to just be unblockable to get in those last points of damage if they don't kill it is really appealing as a hate bear early on, and also to get that card advantage, with the discard and draw ability. It does a lot, and then we haven't even talked about the discard ability, which Alex, I know is your favorite part.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the ability for this card to act as just like a way to discard Vengevines or Lingering Souls or threats that you use on Barrowites to get back. But then while it's doing that as a game plan, it's just removing their life total consistently by being an unlockable threat that's drawing you cards every turn. Is like a lot of different things working together in a way that I think is really exciting. And just like is a card where like with the other card, the Adonto Vanguard knockoff from this set, that card just you don't really get very much other than you're tapping your creature and making it indestructible. This one, like you're being aggressive while discarding, hopefully for value, and then being able to take that aggression and draw cards off of it. I think just like it works together really well, and then on top of it, it's a spirit, right? Like that's actually a not net zero creature type. I joked at the beginning about Rogue, but like spirits is a real deck that sees play when there's enough good cards in it, and this gets advantage from all of the lords from that deck, and is an aggressive threat for it that play early and then just keep mana open as it goes forward.
Being a spirit and being played in the spirits deck, this also curves into Spell Queller, which may cause your opponent to cast a spell from somewhere other than their hand.
That is true.
So like this plays very well with Spell Queller, so it like slots into the deck pretty well. I mean, like it would be interesting to see what you cut for it, because like currently the 2-drops in spirits are all like spirit tribal dedicated cards, and this doesn't do that, so it's not like an obvious include. But I do think it has a lot of synergy with what the deck is doing, and like it's a good card on rate.
And in some ways, it's worse in multiples, right? Like the fact that everyone that untaps, like eventually you run out of mana to draw cards, or you're just not doing anything with the cards you're drawing, and the fact that you have to discard a different card individually to make it unblockable. So I can see it in spirits being more of a 1 of or a 2 of, and like slotting in as just like a good card that also is like findable and the right matchups.
The hate bear ability, as we're referring to it, is good in multiples, right? That's like true. If that's an effect that's going to draw you a card, you would much rather draw 2,
right?
3.
I mean, this guy seems like a pretty decent turn 2 play to follow up on turn 3 with 3 fairy too. Like if you can bounce the one thing that's in the way, and then you get to punch in, and then on next turn you might actually use that untap pay 2, draw an extra card. Then you get to play your, 4th mana source. You have 2 untapped to remand or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I think also like when it says cast somewhere from other than a graveyard, like or other than a hand, you draw a card. There's a lot of things in Modern that are technically cast from somewhere else, but are just part of your normal game plan curve. Like a Search for Tomorrow or a Rift Bolt, you're going to draw a card every time those get cast. Obviously, Lingering Souls being from the graveyard is a big one. I think people play Lava Dart sometimes. Looting is no longer around, but these are all things that any of those red effects where you exile a card from the top of your library and until end of turn you may cast it. There's a lot of different things that people are doing in Modern that are technically casting something not from your hand. This guy gets a lot of value out of that slot.
Right.
Oh, Emery too.
Yeah,
Emery is yeah.
And I think the fact that this, like, and in Cascade, right, like even up to like Bloodbraid Elf is like not good when this is in play, and like just the tempo play with this card, right? Like on turn 2 you play it, on the next turn you discard a card, play a 3-drop, play Teferi, something that puts them back, keep mana open, and be able to counter it with Spell Queller, and then because the first time it's going to untap, you'll have 4 mana that turn as long as you have the lands in your hand to be able to pay the 2 mana and then keep up Remand or keep up any Crown of Magic you want from that point forward, and then from that point on, you're drawing a card every turn, and you only have to discard if you have to be able to make him unblockable, and you're able to just draw into removal spells, draw into counter magic, keeping them off their game while they're just taking 2 a turn. That's like a lot.
I feel like
a lot of knobs that are all doing things that are powerful.
I feel like we should definitely, because you guys are hearing this on a Monday, and our episode will come out later in the week. I feel like we should do like a brew-tastic type of thing around this card. We should each come up with our own idea of how to make this card sweet. Because I definitely would put it in a Rogues deck. I would definitely come up with something really, really fun with it. And I feel like Alex, you would definitely take more of advantage of the discard stuff. I think that could be at least a fun part of this week's episode.
I'm going to be discarding a Hedging Crab, don't you worry.
Discarding a Hedging Crab good?
Like on turn 12.
And if you guys are hearing this and you guys want to submit your own brews, that's a good thing to do as well. This episode will come out this week. You'll hear the audio on Thursday and the video will go out on Friday. So in the comments, leave your in the Discord, share your brews with this card, because I definitely think this card is right up our alley. It feels very much like something
we're releasing this. We released this on Monday. Our episode recording for this Friday will be tomorrow night on Tuesday evening. So if you post deck lists into the comments, we'll be able to look at them before we record the episode. But you have like a 24-hour period, so do it quick.
Get hyped.
And once again, thank you to Wizards. Make sure to subscribe. People that are here that don't normally watch us, we do Modern content, we do Commander content, we do a bunch of different type of content. Obviously, the main podcast is focused on Modern, but the channel does all this bunch of stuff. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Kes Wiley. Everything is at the MMCast. I'm at Kes Wiley, everyone.
You can find me at Ben Bateman Media, or my new thing I'm doing, Nerds and Suits, at Nerds and Suits. Go to youtube.com/nerdsandsuits.
You can find me at Marsh Unfocused.
Dudard, D-U-D-A-R-D-D.
And then also make sure, if you have a chance, to follow us on or me on Twitch, on twitch.tv/Kes Wiley. But Twitter is definitely the best way to find all of us. That's where we all interact all the time. And make sure to subscribe, hit the bell. It'll tell you when stuff's coming out, so you get to see all the new stuff. We're coming out with new video content pretty regularly now, so it allows you to get alerts, because there's not, other than the podcast coming out every Friday and Hot Takes coming out every Tuesday, there's not a set schedule. So definitely subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Wizards, for giving us the access to a free preview. Being able to participate in this is always a great time. Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.